Hey, so we're starting with a blank board for a change. So we've already covered things like offline, which is kind of where our focus is at the moment on these funnels. And we've looked at when we go offline, you can either go with ex-clients and current clients, and that's a very quick way to set up an offline, or you're going completely into a new marketplace. And if you're going into a new marketplace, then you need to look at niching. But yesterday or the day before, we discussed that most people are doing too big a model for online, which is you to a huge niche, and you need vast amounts of money and a massive reputation to even start that. Others are doing this version, which is the experts, lots of people to a smaller niche. And for most people, the way to go online is actually to go narrow to narrow, which meant defining your niche further than just weight loss. And we went through some niche criteria. Something that also helps you define your online niche is actually your avatar. Now, I don't like the word avatar because it sounds a bit weird. It sounds like you're talking about blue people. So let's just call them ideal client. Now, a lot of people make the mistake that the ideal client is somebody who is a mirror image of them. But actually, if you're a unique person, there's no such thing as a mirror image of you. However, we are going to ask the same questions of ourselves as we would our avatar, because we're hoping to find a middle ground. So in other words, the person's pretty similar to you, but they're slightly different. So let's put a few differences on. Okay, they're not a mirror image, they're just a little bit different to you. And by asking these questions, the ones coming up, we'll be able to find out who they are, who you are, and where that middle ground is. So the very first question we're going to ask ourselves is, who are you? Now, to give you an idea of how to answer that, let's talk about me for a little bit. So, I run an online business. I have 30 years marketing experience. My online business is in the health and fitness niche, and it's actually to fitness professionals. So I niche quite a lot there. And actually there's more niching on that fitness professionals, because there are only certain types of fitness professionals and gyms that I would want to come into my business. I'm qualified in marketing as well as experienced, and I've worked for international companies or global companies, and obviously I've now become a business owner. So that's kind of who I am. There's more to who I am, because obviously we're going to break some questions down more when you're asking these questions of yourself. So you're actually going to say, how old are you? Okay, you don't actually have to tell me how old you are. I can tell you I'm 49 and a half. Okay, any compliments about the fact I don't look it, gratefully received. Where do you come from? Now, this isn't what part of the country you were born in or anything like that. It's more about who were you in the past and where are you now. And this will help you establish your journey to what's brought you here. So why I went into running an online business to fitness professionals was I'd been a client. I've got a history of yo-yo dieting. I'm incredibly vain. I love to cook. I love my food, which might be why I've got a history of yo-yo dieting. And so you can see this picture starts to build up, so it makes sense for me to have gone this way. What's your education level, or what is your qualifications? We've covered that for me a little bit. I've got a degree and all sorts of stuff, postgrads, education, qualifications. Because you're more likely, when we look at your avatar, to get on with someone similar to yourself in some ways. Someone who has, for me, it would be someone who's continued their education. So, you know, because I'm a graduate and postgrad, 2 postgrads, it's not you have to have a degree, it's just that you've shown an interest in learning and progressing and improving, if you like. Marital and family status, it does give us like an insight to our life, because I almost have two avatars in a way, because with the FPCR, although it's targeted at fitness professionals and gyms, it's to help their clients more, and their clients more are kind of a reflection of me, if you like. So I'm single parent, I've been married twice, my kids are getting older now, so they're now 10, nearly 14 and 18. They weren't when I first became a single parent, they were 3, 5 and 10, so it's been a while. And these also reflect things like my time available, you know, my sort of hobbies, interests, activities, that type of thing. And we are actually going to go into those questions anyway. So my, you know, my family status is important, my marital status is important, my education, I'll just put that as a separate title, is important to who I am. My work background is important to who I am. And you're answering these questions from your point of view, not my point of view, obviously. What inspires you? Now, remember the other day we talked about passion, and that if you go online, it's actually really hard work, unlike what some of the other sort of mentors might say, and therefore it's got to be something that inspires you. Food ridiculously inspires me. If you ever look at my Instagram when I'm traveling, you'll see it's full of food. What else inspires me? I think I do actually enjoy building businesses. I actually do enjoy new product developments and actually taking them through, not just the ideas, but I like the action, I like the planning, I like the strategy. These may not seem like massive inspirations because they're pretty much business orientated, but if you know me, you know actually that I'm not woo-woo, I'm not airy-fairy. So, you know, autumnal leaves are lovely, and don't get me wrong, I quite like autumn. I don't like it gets colder, but it doesn't inspire me. Getting results inspires me. So we could call it getting results. And that might be the same for you. Getting results with your clients might be what inspires you. Right, so what are your beliefs? This is another question you need to ask yourself. There's loads of these. Obviously, what are your beliefs? I mean, they could be religious if you want them to be. They're not in my case. So what are the fundamental things that you believe? Well, I believe actually you only have one life. And I think that's a very fundamental belief for me. I also believe that you can't let your past affect your future, that you just need to move on. It's past. So, you know, past shouldn't affect your future. I actually do believe in security. I'm not a great nomad. I like my creature comforts, that type of thing. So different beliefs, you know, beliefs that you should support your children in whatever they do, that type of thing. Support children no matter what their choices are. You know, I do actually believe in education as well. Massive believer in education and to a certain extent qualifications. I think there's a reason for them. Because to me it widens your perspective on things and it gives you a more questioning mind. So I like questioning minds as well, and problem solving abilities. So you can see how all these beliefs for me link. Yeah, and they will for you. When you start to do these questions for you, you will start to see some links. Things you might sort of, you know, consider is, you know, what are your hobbies and interests? Now, I don't have any particular hobbies, to be honest, but interests does reflect the sort of business I've put about, because I've got an interest in travel, being relaxed, unstressed, beaches, that type of thing. So although I don't have hobbies and interests, I have hobbies. My interests are mostly things around travel, seeing new places, being able to relax, having the money to do that is a massive interest, and you know, spending time on a beach or by a pool and chilling. I do enjoy some sporting stuff like swimming, and when you get me in it, I actually do enjoy weight training, but it's motivation for me to go and do it. You know, I struggle with that, but when I do it, I enjoy it. I also enjoy walking and the countryside, so all of those could be considered interests. Right, and then what you want to try and do is think about, well, for yourself, what problem is critical for you to resolve. And if you're looking at setting up online, hopefully those align, that is the critical problem that you want to resolve. If it isn't, then you shouldn't be considering setting up online at this moment in time. And then you just want to try and summarize all of this in a few sentences. Now, how does this relate to building an avatar? Well, once you've done this exercise for yourself and you've started to answer this for yourself, then what you're going to do is ask these questions. Who are you? How old are you? Where did you come from? Where are you now? What's their education? What's their qualifications? What's their marital status? What inspires them? What are their hobbies and interests? What problem is critical for them to resolve? And then summarise their beliefs as well. And then summarise that in a few sentences. And you will start to get this picture of someone very similar to you, probably. But like I say, that's not hugely important, because if you get someone who is exactly like you, then what you're really trying to do when you've created this avatar or niche is resolve your own problems. Or I only really want to work with people who are exactly like me, which means that when you are working with them, you're then not really listening and working with them. And that's the big danger. You're then trying to force your beliefs, because they're so similar to you, onto them, and you're not allowing for their differences. Yeah, and we need to allow for people's differences. They are not mirror images of us. So when we talked about niches, I said the one thing people don't take into account when they're looking at things like the money, you know, their issues and their problems in life. You know, we did the Get Abs Fast and we did Diabetes 2 as examples. What we tended not to look at was the person behind that niche. And this is now going to marry up with this to give you the person behind the niche, which makes it a lot easier when you come to your messages, your marketing, your videos, your social media content, to get out there and connect with those people online.